Hi, everybody. It's Monica with American English with Monica. I'm so glad you're here. Welcome back to my channel. Today's phrasal verb is really important to know. If you're studying business English, you need to know this. And if you're just studying English for other reasons, it's good to know as well. There are two main definitions that I'll be reviewing today. Okay. The first one has to do with losing your job. Sometimes we lose a job. Sometimes the job ends. The employment stops. And if it's not your fault, if the employee was performing well, but the company is having some problems or they need to downsize, the company isn't doing very well, they need to lay off some employees. This means they need to end the job, and it's not because of the employee's performance. It's really important if you're learning English. It's really important to learn the difference between lay off and fire. Fire is a verb we use when someone loses their job, when they are fired because of performance. Okay? So if my company fired me, it's because I was doing something wrong. Maybe I was late all the time, or maybe I was doing the wrong work or stealing information from them. I don't know. People get fired for doing illegal things or inappropriate things. But a more common reason why people lose their job is because the company needs to lay them off. And they need to lay people off when the company isn't doing well. Right? During the pandemic, a lot of companies had to lay off thousands of employees because the company had to change because of the pandemic. For example, they had to downsize. We can separate this phrasal verb for this definition. For the next one, we can't. So watch the whole video to learn. But I need to lay them off. He laid me off. It has to do with stopping employment, ending employment, but it's unrelated to the employee's performance. The person that does the action is the job. You can't say I laid off. You have to say I was laid off by the company. They are the ones doing the action to the employees, okay? Ending employment unrelated to employee performance. Performance. That's your behavior at work. So if you had bad behavior and you lose your job, you might have been fired. Okay? This is really important to know. During job interviews, they will probably ask you why you left your previous job or jobs, right? They might ask you, have you ever been fired? Have you ever been laid off? They might want to know your job history, and you need to know the difference. Okay? The other option, if you're not fired and you're not laid off, is you resigned. You decided to leave voluntarily. We call that quitting. A nicer way to say quit is resign. So layoff is almost always involuntary. It's not your choice, but the company needs to have fewer employees. The next meaning is important to know. It's when you're telling someone to stop doing a behavior that's annoying or bothersome. Maybe they're teasing you, maybe they're criticizing you, and you just say, lay off. When you say lay off to someone, it is rude. You do not want to use this in a professional setting. Please don't tell your colleagues or your boss to lay off. It's rude, but it's assertive. It's an aggressive way to tell someone to stop. And we need to use it sometimes Certainly, if a stranger is being bothersome or in your space, lay off. It means get away or stop doing that. You might hear it in movies and TV shows when teenagers are talking to their parents, right? Sometimes parents keep criticizing or asking questions or talking to their teenager about their life or their decisions. And the teenager might say, ugh, lay off, right? It means leave me alone, stop talking. So I do want you to be aware of that phrasal verb in that context. And it can't be separated when we say that. If you watched a video I did, it was a 2-minute video with a phrasal, an idiom, phrasal verb, idiom, that says knock it off. It was called knock it off. It's a very similar meaning to lay off. But this one does not, you can't say lay it off. It's lay off. No separation, okay? Lay off. And you're telling someone to stop. Get away, stop annoying me, stop asking questions. A third meaning that I would like to mention, if you're new to my channel, welcome. But you should know I do my videos in one take without a script. And sometimes I think of another idea during the video, like I just did. So I told you there were 2 meanings. I'm going to give you 3 that are really common. Most phrasal verbs have more meanings, but I try to only talk about the most common. But this third meaning is kind of interesting because you might hear it. And people say they want to lay off something, usually when it's something that's unhealthy, that they're consuming too much of, or they want to slow down or stop the rate or the frequency that they're doing something or using something. They need to lay off. For example, some people say they need to lay off alcohol. They want to have fewer drinks. Maybe they're drinking too much alcohol. They're not feeling really healthy, so they need to lay off. Now, sometimes it means stop completely. But usually with this definition of layoff, people just reduce the frequency. I might say I need to lay off chocolate, but I'm never going to stop eating chocolate. I just might pay more attention to it and consume less sugar or have fewer pieces of chocolate every week. And I might say, yeah, I've been laying off chocolate. It doesn't mean I stopped altogether. But sometimes it does with this context. If a doctor tells a patient you have to lay off sugar or you have to lay off alcohol, then the patient might really, for their health, they might have to stop totally. But I do want you to hear about this context. So if you have any examples, is there something you wish you could lay off of or lay off from using or consuming too often? Put that in the comments. If you know an example of if you've been laid off from a job or you know a company that has had to lay off employees, you could use that in an example sentence. And if you've ever had to say it to someone or you've heard someone say, lay off, right? Get away from me. Stop talking. You can, I would love to see your examples and your questions. So I'm really glad you're here. Thank you so much for following my channel and liking and subscribing. It's awesome. I love teaching. And if you have requests for phrasal verbs, put them in the comments. I'll see you next time. Bye.